Welcome to the celebration of Kentucky history. This is normally the time when you would have tuned in to watch the Kentucky History Awards. But we're celebrating Kentucky history a little different this year. My name is Scott Alvey. I am the Executive Director of the Kentucky Historical Society.
And I'm Dr. Mandy Higgins, the Community Engagement Administrator of the Kentucky Historical Society. Tonight, you'll see 7 individual stories of organizations that really encapsulate the ways that history is being done across the Commonwealth this year.
We saw all this great work going on at our local historians and local history organizations. We thought, why don't we celebrate all this great work that is going on?
And so what we did was put out a call for a narrative of how organizations had survived, had changed their practices over the course of the COVID pandemic.
Let's not just talk about the history that they're doing, but why history is valuable.
So tonight you'll hear about the 7 core values. The 7 values of history provide us with perspectives in order for us to do our work. They are to ourselves, which encompasses identity and critical thinking, to our communities, vibrant communities and economic development, and to our future, engaged citizens, leadership, and legacy.
The stories you're about to hear are actually introduced by our Kentucky Historical Society governing board members who also share our passion for history. Mandy Higgins went around the state. So Mandy, would you tell us a little bit about how you all captured these stories?
We spent lots of hours traveling across the beauty of Kentucky and getting to see places that we've never been. And to be able to capture that on film and to be able to share that with all of you, we're so excited to do that. And we hope that this will inspire other organizations to continue to think about how their spaces are relevant and resilient. And maybe you could go travel to some of our sites and have the similar experiences
that would be great, right? That first-person interaction just really makes history come alive. Let's listen to some of those stories.
My name is Jennifer Brown, and I serve as First Vice President on the Governing Board of the Kentucky Historical Society. I am also a proud resident and citizen of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, located at the heart of Christian County in western Kentucky. In these modern times, we understand that critical thinking as a value of history is essential to effective communication and problem solving. Through analysis and evaluation of evidence, we can engage with our history as a path to understanding the present. And here in our own backyard, one organization spent their year doing just that. Today, we celebrate museums of historic Hopkinsville, Christian County. Their creativity and perseverance resulted in several different programs through digital and other interactive platforms. Let's meet Executive Director Alyssa Keller.
We are sitting in the Pennyroyal Area Museum. We just finished a big renovation, closed in 2018, renovated all through 19, and got open on February 27th of 2020. And we were open for about 2.5 weeks before COVID closed us. It was interesting there for the first few weeks because we thought this was 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, we hit it hard. We were going to do special programming. We were going to take to the virtual world and do a lot of Facebook interaction, if nothing else. We weren't set up for much. So we decided we made a schedule. We were going to have Facebook Live videos that were going to do different projects. We made take-home kits that we put on our front porch. So no one had to come in the building. You could just pick them up in like special packages and hosted these videos. And that momentum really carried through for the first couple of weeks. And then once things started to become very obvious that it wasn't going to be a couple of weeks, we had to think more long-term about how to keep a community engaged, reach our audience, and make use of this new exhibit we had as best we could without having people in it. We are a local history museum, and we want to encourage dialogue and conversations about our local history from lots of different angles. In 1955, there was a supposed alien invasion right outside of Hopkinsville in August of 1955. So we told the story of the Kelly Green men and made slime to go along with that. We did a downtown scavenger hunt. You could pick up a packet to explore downtown. Again, ways to get people interacting with their families, but doing so in a safe way. So we were trying really hard to keep that momentum to connecting history with what was happening today. It was very important to us to continue to nurture our connection with our community and these history skills. We live through history every single day. Every day we're making history no matter what, but we all found ourselves in a spot where we were making history and living it in a way no one wanted to and in a way no one expected. So we wanted to kind of remind people of where we come from, where we came from, where we're going, and how we've been through things before, that we've been through tough things before, and then how we've overcome those and how we can use what we learned through these tough times to help us be better in the future. One of the things we gave out as a take-home kit, we called the Quarantine Chronicles, and they were just like little notebooks. We thought it would be a good idea for people to like really take some time and document what's happening. We had a great response to those take-home kits, and we've continued to do that. We call it Museum at Home, and I think it has opened people's eyes more to the museum being kind of a fun place to go, a place to learn in a different way, in a kind of a non-traditional sense. And all of the Museum at Home kits are free, so I think it's also connecting us with a really broad audience too. I realized one day when I was like walking out my door to come to the office, and it was the last summer, that I was kind of grieving. We had done all of this work to get the museum reopened, and then people weren't getting to enjoy it and see it. And it was really hard. I was coming in every day and seeing it, and it was kind of depressing to see this great new space that we still have so many plans for, and just not having people in it. And so one of the things I think that I'm most proud of is that we took that momentum we had to get us open and swerved it, switched it around and turned it into something else. And frankly, we reached such a bigger, broader audience through this virtual programming that I don't think we'll ever stop it. We figured out a way to make the best of it and to still manage to meet our mission, to share local history and to get people involved in it, I think in an active and thoughtful way, even in the midst of all the madness.
I am Sheila Mason, former president and current governing board member of the Kentucky Historical Society. I am inspired by history, and it has made me want to learn more about my own place within Kentucky's past. I am also a public servant, which keeps me focused on where we can be within Kentucky's future. Through history, we learn countless stories of freedom, equality, struggle, courage, and triumph. These stories inspire our communal identities, and they can shape personal values that guide us through life. One of the greatest values of history is how it affects us as individuals and how history nurtures our personal identities in an intercultural world. I'd like to introduce you to the Adair County Public Library and how they welcome people to discover their own place in Kentucky history.
This building is a 20-year vision that finally came to fruition last year during COVID, opened April the 19th. This is a vision that people have had over the last few years for research and genealogy, history of this area, and history of surrounding counties and the state of Kentucky. Especially if they're from Adair County, they can come in and find their original family name and trace it back into the early 1800s, even further. For a community, this does give us identity. It gives us a place to store, to put all of our memories, our research, artifacts that are very important to this community.
We've been having a lot of young people come in that, younger ones that's getting interested in it, and that's excited me. I'm really proud of all the items and books that we're getting for our genealogy for other people to research.
What I'm most proud of is the crew that's behind me, the three, Ernie, Mike, and Phil. They're quite a team. They have a lot of experience between the three of them, and they're just awesome people to sit down and do research with.
A solid foundation of history lays the groundwork for strong and resilient communities. And museums are often the anchors that help us understand what it means to be a community. My name is Dr. Alastine Turley. Our shared experiences over the past year have shown us that we all have a part to play in our towns, schools, and cultural sites. Communities are not just defined by geography or location, but also by shared interests and connections to home. Museums like the Highlands Museum and Discovery Center in Ashland, Kentucky can open doors to building a strong community, even when those doors are closed.
The Highlands Museum and Discovery Center is located in downtown Ashland, Kentucky. It is located in the old C.H. Parsons department store, which is almost 100 years old. We saw that the community was struggling with parents who both worked and they didn't have older children to take care of their little ones and keep them on task with the virtual learning situation. So we realized that we had a very large 12,000 square foot room where we could spread the students. We had Wi-Fi, we had everything they needed. So I looked around the community to see if there was a need and found that there was. So we were able to provide a virtual learning center here in our conference center. And then it continued on. So our local hospital, King's Daughters Hospital, asked us if we would do one for their employees because they were having trouble keeping their staff there with the lack of the child care who could really help them with their learning experiences. So it was a double-edged sword because you couldn't just have a babysitter. You had to have someone who was technically adept at helping children learn in a very tough environment. So I looked around and found proctors who could serve, and these were college students. Most of them were in the field of education. Our curator, Heather, she would bring an artifact to them, or something of interest, and then we would take them on tours through different various parts of the museum and give them some highlights. They particularly liked the wall here that has all of the World War II men and women from Boyd County who served in that, and they go ask their grandparents if they served, and they go find their names.
Oh, people loved it. Particularly, it amazed me. The simplest thing of all were the photo of the day, and that was everyone's favorite. People look forward to it. I actually had someone ask me, "They're not going to end, are they? Like, you're going to keep doing them forever?" I've noticed when I do exhibits, people do like the artifacts. They like the stuff. But a photo, particularly if it's something they remember, if it's something that happened in their lifetime, they love that. It reminds them of a happy time, maybe as a child or a young adult. And so I think that's why the photo of the day was so popular with people. This was Parsons' department store. It was the place to shop in Ashland up until about the 1950s and 60s. And then we had malls arriving and department stores started to go away. But so many people in this area remember Parsons. So I had a couple photos of Parsons decorated at Christmas time. And so in the month of December, I shared those. And one of them, last I checked, had over 12,000 engagements. Something that I really liked with the photos is sometimes they would tell me something I didn't know. So it would start a conversation amongst us, and with community members, they would ask us questions, and then sometimes other people would answer the question for them. They beat me to it. Well, I was scheduling posts, weeks in advance, so in case, they had to do layoffs, they would still keep going for a while. So the priority really was just to do as much virtual stuff as I could. I stopped working on exhibits because I was like, there's nobody to come see them. So it's just going to be all videos, photographs, as much as we can get out while we can. It was terrible because I was like, I've been working on these exhibits and people can't come and see them. And so that's how we got the idea, well, if they can't come to the museum, we'll take the museum to them. So I started picking out key displays and objects in the museum and just shared them with people on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm proud that we're back. It was very emotional for me and very upsetting to be closed for so long. And at times it felt like forever. And so I'm glad that we're able to come back. I know COVID is still a problem, but this is a sign to me that museums are going to make it, history is going to be preserved, and it's going to be continued to be shared with our community.
Incredible community work in Ashland, and a great model for all of us. My name is Becky Dedman-Bowling, and it's amazing how vital our cultural heritage institutions can be, especially when they help reinforce a strong sense of historical character. Museums are a catalyst for economic growth, and they can increase tourism and enhance business development. The Kentucky Main Street program encourages downtown revitalization and economic development. In 2020, Main Street communities reported over $45 million in investment and 122 new businesses opened. Kitty Dogood, with the Kentucky Heritage Council, coordinates these efforts across the state. Let's meet Kitty and learn more about Main Street programs from around the Commonwealth.
The Kentucky Main Street program is the oldest statewide program in the country. It started in 1979, and our basis is we are historic preservation that is based in economic development.
When you look at economic development in small towns, you think about who your audience is and who you want to be your economic development. So the Debatable Main Street program has been in existence since 2006. We joined the state program and became part of the national program recently also. It's a great resource for us.
Main Street Perryville was established in 2007, so we've restored 7 buildings and done work on every one of the buildings on Merchants Row. And through that process, we have raised and spent $705,000 since 2009 on the restoration of those buildings. So it's created jobs, it's created income for the city and the county, and brought more people into Perryville and made them aware of our history and what's in Central Kentucky to visit.
At the same time that we were encouraging other property owners to do work to their own buildings, we realized that there were some public properties that needed work as well, and one of those being the Bell Theater. So we worked alongside the Bell County Tourism Commission to be able to utilize our restaurant taxes here in Pineville to go toward the renovation of the Bell Theater. To this date, we've spent around $400,000 on renovation work in the Bell Theater, and we transformed it from an old movie theater to a live performance venue, bringing back that authentic feeling of what Pineville used to be through just a facade of a building is something pretty special to see.
One project that we're diligently working on is restoring the WPA building we have on Main Street right now. The city owns that building. It was built in 1939 by the Work Progress Association. It's served as our city hall, it's served as our police department, and it's a beautiful stone building.
So being able to offer those authentic stories and those authentic places where you get to go not to a chain restaurant, not to a chain store, but you get to go in where people are really excited that you came there and you can sample some of the local fare. The last 18 months have been very stressful, but to actually use Zoom every week, it enabled them to work together. So if something was happening in the western part of the state, somewhere in the eastern part of the state might have had a solution for them.
Just yesterday, our state Main Street coordinator and the Pikeville Main Street director brought a new sign for the barber shop in town, and we're trying to do little special projects like that.
As everyone else in the world, we didn't know what the next day would bring. We were tuned in with our leaders in Frankfort. We were listening to what was going to be coming down the pipeline, what regulations were going to be passed down on businesses. We were able to work with them. We were able to work with the Kentucky Chamber to lobby to help small businesses. We, of course, blocked off the curbs so that people could pull in and have easy access to their call-in orders.
And we were able to give each business in town a gallon of hand sanitizer and 200 masks to help in an effort to keep them open. We also distributed information from the governor's office via Kentucky Main Street. They provided the information, so they were the funnel to the individual main streets to help the community stay in business as best they could during the pandemic.
On March 1st, 2021, we had a devastating historic flood hit our town. Every building and every business on Main Street was affected. The flood was devastating, but you have to look at it as an opportunity too, an opportunity to build back and bring things back better than they were before. You can't replace your history. Your history is so important to your town. The community came together. That was the best part about the flood.
The people of Perryville and my businesses, they have done a remarkable job. It shows that a town of 751 people can overcome anything, just like they did in 1862 after the battle. During severe times and hard times, the people of Perryville will come together and they will survive, and I'm very proud of them for that.
18 months ago, we were proud to see it 100% full, knowing that we have the majority of our businesses still intact and that these are sustainable businesses that are going to be here a long time if they can stick it out through 2020 we're pretty proud of the foundation that we built here in Pineville.
Seeing what small business owners go through in a pandemic, having to shut your doors and come up with new creative ways to reach the customer and get the product to the customer, that's what I'm most proud of, is the way people have refocused on shopping local and supporting local.
But they've all worked really, really hard, and they're all still in business, and we're still working, and we're looking forward to 2022 and hope COVID's gone and people are back downtown.
It is clear the value of history extends from ourselves to our communities. But if this year has taught us anything, it is how crucial history is to our future. My name is Cynthia Torp, First Vice President for the Kentucky Historical Society Governing Board. We believe that Kentucky history engages citizens to craft solutions to contemporary issues, and that various perspectives, fresh ideas, and new voices can be united by history, all coming together to envision a better future. In Louisville, much of our history is told through historic sites, and 4 of these sites believed in the power of this unity. Together, they formed a coalition that is dedicated to telling a larger, more comprehensive history, one that brings the past to light and how it is reflected within our city today.
The coalition really emerged rather organically. It grew out of professional conversations, and we were invited to participate in some programming.
Well, a number of us who have been grappling through the past decades with how to effectively interpret the lives of the enslaved people realized that we really had a common cause. And so those informal conversations we'd had for years turned into a more formal coalition.
And we were all kind of flailing about in some ways during the pandemic, trying to figure out how to stay engaged with our audiences. And this felt like an opportunity to pool our resources, our connections, and amplify some of the things that we wanted to engage with the public on.
But the events of the last year and Teresa and Hannah coming up with the idea for the coalition and everybody grabbing onto it was just the most wonderful, exciting opportunity for those of us who knew. We knew this was our obligation back to society.
And we started planning this, and then COVID hit. We started thinking about, well, what can we do in the interim? Everything that was happening here in Louisville with Breonna Taylor. And so thinking of ways that we could do some programming that stayed safe, we started thinking about virtual conversations.
COVID did offer some opportunities. Our virtual conversations reached more people than they would have if we had held those in person, and they included visitors from even as far away as Canada. Just the idea that we have made this commitment and we formalized that is making people excited, and people want to get involved.
We have connecting stories at all 4 of these sites of enslavement. I could fill this entire interviews with connections between the sites that are similar, because in a situation like Louisville, Kentucky, or any region of the world, you're going to have similar situations when you have similar lifestyles.
So we found that by talking about the commonalities and the differences, we could be more effective together than we could be individually.
Oxmoor letters have filled in so much information for Farmington. Our building plans were found in the Oxmoor letters. We have found so much information about the enslaved that it's just a natural fit for Farmington and Oxmoor to work together.
Really, it was a concentration on, one, the interconnectedness of people here in the present, but also people in the past, but also a response to really what visitors were coming to our site seeking.
The impact of Breonna Taylor on our visitors can't be denied. Almost every tour that's given, Breonna Taylor is brought up at Farmington by the visitors. And so we know we have a direct connection to this current event.
We as historians know that this connection is not just to what is happening in the moment, right? There is some backstory to this.
Kentucky, in a lot of ways, is unusual. And people bring stereotypes to how they think life was lived here. And by providing really specific examples, we can help bring the people who were enslaved, whose stories haven't been told, to life in a fuller way.
Those stories show that everybody's journey to freedom looked different, and this idea of what it means to be free and then equal. Our sites are places where those conversations really can originate.
We want this to be an ongoing thing and just keep growing the opportunities to collaborate and invite more people to participate in the conversation and diversify all the voices at the table, and just keep exploring this important, very relevant topic.
We regularly get together, we regularly talk, and so I think this is just a great way for all of us to connect our sites and, in a sense, again, enrich the community.
By including more people, you get better questions and better answers and better resonance with the public.
The coalition gives us that opportunity because together we're much stronger than we are as individual sites.
Inspiring work there in Louisville. I am Wayne Ongst, Third Vice President of the KHS Governing Board. We've seen how history can inspire citizens, but history can also ignite the spark of new leadership. Kentucky has produced a long list of truly great people that have gone on to change the world, but we've also created some really terrific citizens who answered the call to serve their local communities. We need our local history organizations to continue telling these stories, to inspire a new generation of local and global leaders. And I'm proud to share the work of the Behringer Crawford Museum from my neck of the woods in Covington, Kentucky.
Behringer Crawford Museum is all about local history in northern Kentucky in relation to the Ohio River Valley. We love to be able to work within the community and bring in artists, and hoping to be able to continue that post-pandemic, hopefully. Pre-pandemic, we've worked with Photo Focus, which is Greater Cincinnati-wide photography, promotions and exhibits throughout the community. And so we had set up an exhibit that we were going to have as a visual exhibit with Malcolm Wilson. So Malcolm Wilson is an Appalachian photographer. We had it all planned out. It was going to be a beautiful show. We were bringing in food, music, the whole bit, and wham, got hit by the pandemic. So wondered, how are we going to be able to continue this? And Photo Focus was the supporter, the grantor, and they were very, very, very nice, saying, look, everybody's plans we know have altered, have changed. Let us know, if you're able to do anything at all with this. And we have a brilliant curator of collections, Jason French, who said, why don't we take what we were going to do as a visual, static display where people came here and they went around and photographed people, and Malcolm then turned the visual exhibit into more of an interpretive, personal exhibit with his interviewing. Not only did he come here to become that leader, I think, in representing and being able to make the connection in with the Appalachian culture, but he returned to Appalachia, being able to continue that in his capacity and in his leadership role as a fellow Appalachian, to be able to connect to others. I think that his images are a reminder of their heritage, where they came from, anything from the coal mines to, hardworking people, agriculture, and coming here to the urban center. Our virtual programming, and which I never would have thought this would occur, attracted more viewers and more participants than if you were coming here to the museum on site. We would see our numbers leap. So there was a little bit of benefit to that, of being shut down and being able to have people tune in. We're very proud of the fact that we were able to stop, take a look, understand what's most important. And the great thing is, it didn't matter if we weren't perfect. I think everybody was experiencing this at the same time. So we started out, really kind of raw, working in with phones, iPhones, cameras and videos, and turning into where we were able to get grants to be able to purchase equipment, proper equipment, to be able to continue our growth in that. There are several projects that I'm very, very proud of, but I'm mostly proud of our staff who had that ability and flexibility and creativity to literally change everything that we were used to and be able to move forward with that.
Congratulations to our friends at the Behringer Crawford Museum. Their leadership in the field is certainly inspiring. Hi, my name is Ryan Craig, and I am thrilled to serve on the Kentucky Historical Society's governing board. I serve on this board because I believe in the value of history as legacy. Now, legacy is a word that calls to mind the idea of remembrance, continuity, and timelessness. But legacy is also an interconnection of people across time, one that asks, how can we remember our history in a way that helps build our future? This is a question Michael Hughes and his team at the Danville-Boyle County African-American Historical Society asked themselves. And this next recognition celebrates their invaluable response. Throughout a year of virtual, the team in Danville not only built a network of support bigger than ever before, but they also secured and opened a history center in the former Henson Hotel on Danville's Main Street. Through their dedication and commitment to Kentucky history, they combine reflection with action to ensure the stories of Boyle County are not forgotten. Let's take a look.
In 2013 was the year that we organized. There's been a lot of talk about doing this work for many years. You know, there would be reunions and people would talk about what used to be and how it used to be. But when the reunion was over, the talk would just go away. And so I felt like that it was a story that needed to be told every day. A lady named Barbara Hewitt called me one day. She said, I want you to come up and tell some students from Richmond, Kentucky, elementary students, I want you to tell them about 2nd Street. So I came up and the students followed me up there. Well, there was nothing there. I had no photos, I had nothing. And I was telling the kids, there used to be a barbershop here, there used to be a grocery store here, there used to be restaurants here. And they was looking at me like, yeah, okay, you know, it's time to go back to the bus, you know. So it was that moment that told me when we had to do something. I started collecting photos and put them on Facebook, and then people started sending me photos. We started with about, I'd say 60 photos. We have almost 5,000 now. So, and then last year, we've been looking for a place to call home for all the 6 years. So with the generosity of the Henson family who owns this hotel, this room became available. And so we started building it, and we called it the History Center.
When I moved here to Kentucky from Maine, what I discovered was that there was very little work done on Black records, and I've been a genealogist since Nixon was president. And I decided something needed to be done about that. So I started working on Black records. And then this group came along, which gave me the opportunity to actually share a lot of the records that I had researched and recorded. And it's just gone on from there to try to preserve it. Because if we don't, who will? I am most proud of being a part of a group that did not fold up and die during the pandemic. That in fact prospered, grew, developed this center. We call this the History Center, but lately we've started calling it the Clubhouse because it's like a home.
But we got about 8 people, maybe 9, 10 people that work out every day. They tell me I live here, but that's fine. I don't mind.
The leadership that Michael has given to the group and the volunteers. I'd also point out, as far as I know, every single thing in this room was donated. And that's amazing, from the floor to the ceiling. You know, that's the support that we've gotten, which shows to me that there's a need in the community.
We truly appreciate the city, because the city has helped us tremendous people, organizations in the city.
And we've kept it alive during the worst pandemic in a century. And we're still going.
I'm hoping that the legacy that we have, our legacy will be what we have already started, will continue long after, we've gone on. So.
What incredible work. We are so excited to share this with you, but we want to assure you that History Awards will be back. They will be coming in a new season in June of 2022. programs and books and all of the things that you're used to thinking about in History Awards will be eligible from July 1, 2020 to December 31st, 2021. So we haven't left anybody out. There will be an opportunity for that.
And all these great programs that we just saw and we just heard about don't happen without support from all of our constituents and people across the Commonwealth. You have to invest in history. In the meantime, we have a lot of momentum of people appreciating and valuing history. So go out, participate, sit with your family, talk about your family history, visit one of our many roadside markers and help understand the celebration of Kentucky history that's happening there. And we look forward to seeing you next year.